cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am.
Hello. Tonight's video is a very special sleep story about the life and works of philosopher René Descartes. You may be familiar with one of his more famous quotes, I think, therefore I am. We will delve into his life and his death and his works, but what makes this video extra special is that it features the voice of an ASMR artist who I listen to very regularly and I've learnt a lot from, the French Whisperer, who has kindly lent me his voice. So, before we drift back in time, I would like you to take a nice deep breath and get yourself settled and comfortable. I will be reading the script that I've written, but I will try to make the video as interesting as possible. So, as we drift back in time, we will explore the quiet mind of a man who helped shape the way we think about thought itself. His name, René Descartes. Descartes was born on a cold morning in March 1696 in a small town called La Haye-en-Touraine in France. Today, that town is called La Haye-Descartes in his honour. He was born into a world of uncertainty, a Europe that was changing, full of wars, faith, and new discoveries. His father was a lawyer and a judge. His mother died when he was just 1 year old. This was a fragile beginning for a child who would grow into one of the most famous analytical minds in history.
The greatest minds are capable of the greatest vices, as well as of the greatest virtues.
He had delicate health, and because of this, Descartes was allowed to stay in bed late each morning. This was a habit that would be with him for life. It was there, laying quietly, that he began to think deeply about thinking itself.
Except our own thoughts, there is nothing absolutely in our power.
He was educated at a Jesuit college, the Collège Royal Henri le Grand, where he studied philosophy, mathematics, and classical literature. The Jesuits were strict but brilliant teachers. They trained their students to reason, to argue, and to question. Yet Descartes would later say that, after all those years of study, he found himself surrounded by doubts.
If you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that at least once in your life you doubt, as far as possible, all things.
He felt that much of what he had learned could not be known with certainty, and so he set out to find a new foundation for knowledge. After finishing his education, Descartes joined the army for a time. He travelled through Europe to the Netherlands, Germany, and beyond. It was during these travels, in the quiet of a winter night, that he experienced a series of vivid dreams. He believed those dreams revealed his life's purpose, to build a new system of thought based on reason. That night would change the course of philosophy itself forever.
I suppose, therefore, that all things I see are illusions. I believe that nothing has ever existed of everything my lying memory tells me. I think I have no senses. I believe that body, shape, extension, motion, location are functions.
Descartes decided that he must doubt everything he possibly could until he found something that could not be doubted. He wrote about this in his famous work, Meditations on First Philosophy. In those meditations, he imagined that an evil demon could be deceiving him about everything, his senses, his memories, even his body. But no matter how far he doubted, he realized there was one thing he could never deny. The very act of doubting proved he existed. And so he wrote the words that echo through the centuries.
Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am.
I think, therefore I am. With those words, Descartes placed thought, consciousness itself, at the very centre of philosophy. He created what we now call rationalism, the belief that reason, more than experience, is the foundation of knowledge. Descartes was not only a philosopher, but also a mathematician and a scientist. He believed the universe could be understood through numbers and geometry, that everything in nature could be explained by laws of motion and matter. He even helped to create analytic geometry, the bridge between algebra and geometry. That is why we still use the Cartesian coordinate system today, the x and y axis you see in graphs.
Common sense is the most widely shared commodity in the world, for every man is convinced that he is well supplied with it.
Cartesian, of course, comes from his name, Cartesius in Latin. His writings include a discourse on the method, published in 1637. In it, he outlined his famous 4 rules for thinking clearly. 1. Never accept anything as true unless you know it to be certain. 2. Divide problems into smaller parts. 3. Start with the simplest ideas and build upward. And 4. Review everything completely. These sound simple now, but at the time they were revolutionary. Descartes wanted knowledge to be built the way we build a house, solid, logical, step by step. His influence spread far beyond philosophy. He inspired scientists to use reason and method. Doctors, like those who studied anatomy, astronomers who mapped the stars, Even artists and architects began to think in terms of precision, order, and perspective. In this way, Descartes helped shape not only philosophy, but modern science itself.
It is not enough to have a good mind. The main thing is to use it well.
Perhaps one of his most enduring ideas is the mind-body dualism. Descartes argued that the mind and the body are two distinct substances. The body is physical. It takes up space. The mind is immaterial. It thinks, but it does not extend. He believed they interacted through a tiny gland in the brain called the pineal gland. Today, scientists view this differently, but the question Descartes asked remains at the heart of philosophy and neuroscience. How does the mind connect to the body? How can thought emerge from matter? Those questions are still alive today. Every time you wonder what consciousness really is, you are walking in the footsteps of René Descartes.
What is there then that can be taken as true? Perhaps only this one thing, that nothing at all is certain.
Now a bit about his personal life. Descartes lived much of his adult life in the Netherlands, quiet, peaceful and tolerant compared to other parts of Europe. There he could think, write and study in solitude. He preferred calm. He disliked crowds and conflict. He wrote letters to other thinkers, scientists, mathematicians, even princesses. One of those correspondents was Princess Elizabeth of Bohemia, a woman of extraordinary intellect. They exchanged letters for years, discussing the nature of the mind and emotion. Through those letters, we see a gentler side to Descartes, thoughtful, even tender. He never married, but he did have a daughter named Francine, born to a woman named Helena Jan van Strom, Helena Jans van der Strom in the Netherlands. I think I've said that right. Francine was said to be bright and cheerful, but she died of scarlet fever at only 5 years old. Her death devastated him. Some believe it changed his view of the world, making him more withdrawn, more focused on abstract thought. Beneath the calm and logic of his philosophy, there was a quiet current of grief.
Conquer yourself rather than the world.
In 1649, Descartes accepted an invitation to Sweden from Queen Christina, who wanted him to teach her philosophy. The Swedish winter was harsh. Descartes, used to working in bed until late morning, was asked to give lessons at 5 o'clock. Before dawn, in the freezing cold. Within a few months, he caught pneumonia. On February 11th, 1650, René Descartes passed away. He was 53 years old. His final words, according to some accounts, were "Ça, mon ami, il faut partir." So then, my soul, it is time to part. He was buried in Stockholm, but later his remains were returned to France to rest among his country's thinkers and poets.
The reading of all good books is like conversation with the finest men of past centuries.
So, what is his legacy? Descartes changed how we see ourselves. Before him, philosophy often began with the world, with God, or with nature. After him, philosophy began with the mind, with you. Every thought you have about who you are, how you know, and what you perceive echoes his question. What can I know for certain?
Doubt is the origin of wisdom.
He opened the door to modern philosophy, to thinkers like Spinoza, Leibniz, Locke, and Kant. And beyond philosophy, his influence spread through culture. The scientific method, the idea of the rational individual, even the concept of personal identity, all carry his fingerprints. Some call him the father of modern philosophy. Others see him as the first modern skeptic. Either way, his impact continues to ripple through our world, in psychology, in AI, in neuroscience, and in art. When you pause to reflect on your own thoughts, when you wonder what it means to be, you are in a sense continuing Descartes' meditation.
To know what people really think, pay attention to what they do, rather than what they say.
René Descartes lived quietly. He sought truth, not in crowds, not in fame, but in stillness, in silence, in the quiet hum of a mind at work. Perhaps that is why his words have lasted so long. Because when the world grows noisy and uncertain, we still return to that calm, clear voice that whispers, I think, therefore I am. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. I hope that you feel peaceful and that somewhere in the quiet you find your own moment of clarity. Good night.